Right, let's cover it. The season so far, obviously, we're sitting third in the Premier League, so it has gone pretty well, if we're perfectly honest. But I did want to talk about the progression, and obviously, in this title, it talks about Moyes' adaptability in games. And it's funny, when I was writing that title, it did make me think about the times with David Moyes where we were too conservative, where we stuck to the same game plan, where Moyes was unwilling to make substitutes. But this season, I feel that West Ham, by and large, have made a number of changes, and I wonder whether that's because the players understand the system a little bit more. Moyes trusts the players to adapt the game plan in game, and it's happened on multiple occasions this season. I think Leeds' first half is a game where Leeds United dominated the ball. They pressed us high. We couldn't play out from it. We were a little bit naive at times. That's where their first goal came from. And second half, West Ham were able to adapt. And we sat a little bit deeper. And obviously, we saw Declan Rice and Souček sit as the double pivot. And then we tried to transition from there. And that happened because Moyes recognised the fact that the game plan was wrong. And I think you could accuse Moyes, maybe, if you dare at this point, of being sometimes a little bit naive in certain games. There are games where he has it absolutely spot on for me. Tottenham was a perfect example, completely nullified them, didn't give them opportunities. Yes, they're not a creative team, Tottenham, but just by sitting back in that 4-4-2 formation, they couldn't break us down. And he knew that full well. And that was brilliant to see. I think Everton away is another example of West Ham being able to dominate the ball, overrun their midfield. The fact they only play two midfielders and use our athleticism and use our attacking midfielders, he got that spot on. But in games where he hasn't got it perfect, and I think Leeds is an example. I think Villa did cause us issues, but I wouldn't say that we necessarily had to tweak it. He did go and change it in the second half. He did go and make the necessary changes. Newcastle, for example, got 2 goals against the early doors as well. And we were 2-1 down going into half time. And that is frustrating. And it was from set pieces, and it was from the back four being out of shape. And it came from West Ham wanting to be something better in possession. And you can't accuse David Moyes of not trying to build a better brand of football. And I believe this season we have seen it. We've seen West Ham control games. Everton, for example, where we're looking to play out from the back, we're more expansive. At times, it hasn't worked. Southampton, Crystal Palace in the second half are 2 examples of where West Ham have tried to play out from the back, be a bit more progressive, invite the pressure on, and we just haven't been creative enough, and we haven't had enough different looks in the final third to really break teams down. So I think it's not been perfect, but the reason why West Ham are where we're at is because we're so flexible, because Moyes is so flexible, and the players as well. I think we've got numerous options that we can bring on in games, numerous players, not only to bring on, I guess, but the players have an ability to change throughout the game. They're comfortable in different looks. We saw Pablo Fornals against Liverpool play slightly more central with Benrahma on the left. At times, we've seen Benrahma absolutely thrive in the number 10 drive transition. Leeds was a perfect game for that because of the space. So whilst Moyes is adaptable, the players are. And I think a lot of the stats are leading towards the fact that some of these West Ham players are actually becoming much more effective. I think we're becoming much more comfortable in different game plans. And what I'm seeing is less defensive work rate from some of our attacking midfielders. And in theory, that's how it should be, really. We should be trying to get on the ball a little bit more, and their end product should improve. And naturally, we've seen Bowen improve in the final third. We've seen Benrahma's end product improve. For now, obviously, his work rate is absolutely tireless. But that end product's improved because West Ham have changed the way that we're playing in certain games, and we've got the quality to do that. So there's got to be a lot of credit, obviously, to David Moyes for recognising the changes when necessary. Genk's another beautiful example in the Europa League, where first half it was completely wrong. It was too open. It was a high press. I don't think West Ham are a fantastic pressing team. Where we excel is our discipline, our organisation, but the fluidity of any counter-attack. And second half against Genk, we got it absolutely spot on. I've seen us against Leicester early doors, where every single time we play that double pivot in Souček and Declan Rice really high, because we know that Leicester won't play through us. And that's benefited us. And the press in that game worked because West Ham were further up the pitch. So I think it's been interesting to see us go through this season. And the reason why we are where we are, for me, is because we have been able to change it. I think you look at the fine margins in certain games, and even in the games that we've drawn and lost. I look at Manchester United for large periods of that game, particularly in the first half. I thought West Ham were dangerous, even with the false nine. Vlasic was playing. We were playing a higher press. We were using our attacking midfielders. We were trying to deal with the wide areas. It left us susceptible, but it did give us opportunities to turn over. And obviously, that's where the Benrahma goal comes from. I think you can also look at other games, Southampton, Crystal Palace, where, listen, it's been fine margins in terms of conceding goals and making mistakes. And Leeds United with the goal that we conceded, again, a Souček error. So sometimes West Ham have been at fault through trying to play a certain way, and that's led us into trouble. But it hasn't stopped us going on to win games. Leeds United, Mikel Antonio in the final minute. At the same time, we have made those errors against teams like Brentford from set pieces that are uncharacteristic for us. So I just think the common denominator here is the fact that we are flexible, the fact that this team consistently churns out different looks every week, and the fact that we're capable of playing in different ways. Some teams in this division, your Manchester Cities, your Chelseas, your Liverpools, they will be able to play that way because their quality on the ball is up here. And tactically, of course, it's up here. And they are nightmares to deal with tactically. But because they are such good players, they don't really need to change. But West Ham, and credit to Moyes again, is able to look at certain games and say, we can sit a bit deeper, we can play a low block if we need to, but the flexibility of the double pivot, whether it's sitting deeper, whether it's transitioning, Souček and what he offers. Souček was brilliant against Liverpool. It won't get pulled up because he wasn't the main performer, but him just dealing with the half space against Liverpool that play with inside forwards, for West Ham to be able to do that and for Souček to be able to employ that tactic was again spot on. So I think this is where West Ham will go far this season. And again, there will be questions about squad depth and questions about how long can Moyes effectively manage the squad, because December is a horrific month from a fixture point of view. I think early doors, West Ham will be able to compete. I'm not saying we can't compete, but I think because of the energy, because of our ability to rotate, I think your Manchester City, your Brighton, your Chelseas, and with Zagreb possibly a bit of a dud game, there's opportunities there for West Ham to pick certain games and perform in them. The problem will be when you're going to Burnley, Arsenal, Norwich, the Carabao Cup, what different teams are we going to put out then? But I don't think it diminishes from the fact that West Ham, with a fully fit first team, and even with squad players to choose from, and we've seen squad players throughout this first half of the season in terms of cup competitions. Manu Lanzini at times has performed incredibly well, and even offensively, where I think some people doubted his ability to be effective in that sense. Now, we've seen Arthur Mazuaku, albeit didn't play well against Genk, but has played the left-hand side against Manchester United. Ryan Fredericks has come on and played an important role. So these players have played, and we can bring them in. It's just a question of, can we just deal with the pure intensity of the fixtures? But I've got no doubt going into this season that West Ham will be competitive in the majority of these games. And it is important we can get to January really unscathed. And if we can get there and we can reevaluate and we can bring 3 players in the right positions, I think people will look at left back. I think centre back could become a priority depending on Moyes' opinion on that position and whether he feels Baptiste is mature enough to step up. Time will tell. In terms of talent, he's obviously there, but in terms of experience and maturity. But then you're looking at the striker option. That's where West Ham need to strengthen big time for rotation and to offer Moyes the opportunities. But I only feel that Moyes is going to go for those opportunities when they're the right ones. And what I will say, not to veer too much into recruitment because it's almost a different topic, if Moyes can bring in the correct players, Lingard is a correct player. He's a perfect player for what we want to do and for different game plans and different systems and the adaptability that we talk about. He probably typifies everything that Moyes wants in a player. Work rate, defensive work rate, offensive output, versatility in positions, can fit different formations, the perfect player. If you can bring him in, then again, it adds to West Ham's capability to continue to compete. And who knows? I've been sitting here saying that West Ham have been better at playing out from the back. That has been a marked improvement. We saw early doors, particularly against Newcastle and Leicester, introducing the fullbacks. Again, a way of breaking down slightly lower blocks, particularly with Newcastle. Who knows? Moyes may have a player up his sleeve that he feels that if he can add to this West Ham side, that will be able to be more effective in certain games. Maybe against the likes of Spurs, maybe we're a bit more effective in the transitional bit. That's one of our strengths. So I think there's a lot of things to be excited about. And I think the fact that we are competitive, the fact that we've got far in the Europa League, in the Carabao Cup, we've taken on really tough teams as well. I think Genk was good competition, but certainly in the Carabao Cup, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham's not going to be an easy game away from home as much as I would love to absolutely spank them. And I believe Moyes can come up with something there. we are we're the best of the rest, aren't we? We are the best of the rest. So I do feel we're genuine top four challengers in terms of team, in terms of tactics, in terms of players. It's just a question of whether Moyes can keep can manage the fixtures, and it's a test for any manager. It will be a test for a lot of managers, but in particular this West Ham side, because not all of us have the luxury, like a Manchester City, to play two different 11s. So it'll be intriguing. Those are my thoughts generally on the season so far. I've been very impressed. How can you not be when you're third in the Premier League? I think December's a huge month for me, and we'll sit down and we'll evaluate that and see where West Ham are at, because I think a lot of the questions regarding fixtures will be answered. So take care. That was my review so far. I'm sure I'll see you at some point during this week.